Right, then let's move on to the 808. On that EQ of the 808, I have done minimal changes. I see that I carved out a little bit for the kick on 75 hertz, and I dipped down half a dB on a low shelf on 93-ish hertz, just because there was too much low end going on and I just needed a little bit of headroom to get the track that tiny bit louder. All the small bits help. Around 300 I made a dip to make it a little bit more open, so get more emphasis on the low end and more on the high mids. So that is before that EQ and after. You hear how it becomes a little bit more defined, a little bit more punchy, and a little bit grittier and growlier, and that is exactly what I want. All right, let's see how that plays with the kick with this 75 hertz dip over here. So let's first disengage that, and then with it. So I'm hearing that it gets a little bit more space there, and that it's masking a bit more when we're disengaging this 75 hertz dip, which makes the sound of the kick feel a little bit less weighty and a little bit less focused in the low end and more focused towards the mids. So this is actually changing the sound of the kick because everything plays together. That's what mixing is. Change one element and then the other element is going to change as well because it all plays together. So that's why it's silly to always work in solo and work on one thing at a time until it sounds perfect and then get all the other instruments in and then it doesn't work anymore. So never work in solo too much. And then, of course, my 808 wouldn't be complete without a little bit of drive of the decapitator. I've set it to drive of 0.5-ish, so a little bit of drive on the E setting. I haven't touched the tone control, I haven't touched the mix, the dry wet mix. It's just in the E setting, which emphasizes the low end and the high end a bit more, so we're getting a bit more oomph and a bit more punch out of there, which is exactly what I want from this 808. And then I'm also sending it a little bit to that drum parallel because I want it to be in that parallel drum compression, so we are getting the same groove from that kick and rim shot in there. And the same I'm also doing with this drum saturation, which I'm also sending a little bit in there. So that is without drum saturation and with. So you can actually hear that that is doing a lot for the loudness and the mid-range push in there. So it comes across better on smaller speakers, as well as that it's going to appear louder in the final mix, so we can duck it down a little bit more. Another thing I like to do on my 808s is create a duplicate for some extra distortion and